It's not about doing more work. It's about being a better human and saying, how do we be better for each other? And it's doubling down on it.
Welcome to It Comes in Pints, a Seattle Study Club podcast where we will explore a myriad of topics: clinical, health and well-being, psychological, education, business, and much more. I'm your host, Greg Tice.
Simon T. Bailey, and I activate brilliance in individuals and organizations and businesses.
I want to welcome everyone to the next episode of It Comes in Pints, a Seattle Study Club podcast. Really, the idea, as many of you know by now, behind It Comes in Pints is to create that community sort of pub feel where it's just casual, relaxed conversations, but you're actually excited to be with the people that you're with. That's the intention. We've done Gary, we've done our CEO, we've done a couple of others. This one, I'm actually excited to be in the pub with Simon T. Bailey. So, Simon, as a start of this, everybody is required to bring a drink to the table and share it with the group. So we're a little early in the day. So what are we bringing to the table on your end?
I'm going safe by sparkling tea, lemonade from Trader Joe's. I'm already ready to crack it open.
I love it. I love it. And I, as well, because of the time of day, I'm going safe. I'm just going with a simple Coke Zero on ice. So cheers, my friend, and welcome to the podcast.
Cheers, my friend.
So I'll get rid of the ice. So you're a researcher, a consultant, a speaker. Actually, I would refer to you not as a speaker, but as a teacher. I think that's really where you play well with your audiences. But you've worked at Disney. I've seen you described, and I love this term, as a catalytic coach.
Wow.
Can you just tell us a little bit about, in your own words, who you are, what you do, why you do it?
Wow. I am a person, Greg, that is perfectly imperfect, flawed beyond belief, and just on this journey of life trying to figure it out. And I have the honor of coming alongside individuals, and certainly I've been at the Seattle Study Club for many years now, to have a conversation with your soul, to invite you to realize everything you need to thrive in any economy is inside of you. So how do we get it out and actualize it, activate it, and amplify it?
Okay. So tell me about the journey, about how did you get to this, right? Look, you and I, let's go full disclosure here. We've known each other a very long time. In fact, this coming January will be 10 years we've known each other.
Wow. We're not getting older. We are getting better.
You might be getting better. I'm getting older. Tell me how you got to this point as a coach, as a teacher, as a speaker. Just give me the Cliff Notes version of your journey.
Yeah, so worked at Disney for a number of years, sales director for Disney Institute, left Disney 20 years ago. And as I started looking at organizations, Greg, I started looking for what's the pain. And the pain that I discovered is that people want to be their best version of themselves at work, but their brilliance was blocked. So we decided to do some proprietary research, and we released a white paper called The State of Work in America, Thriving in Resilience and Brilliance. And we asked working Americans, how do you define brilliance? And they said it's confidence, creativity, competence. We then asked the question, what's resilience? And they told us resilience is perseverance, it's problem solving, and it's grit. And then, Greg, this is where I had the epiphany. In business, it's like surfing in the ocean. You get knocked off your surfboard because of uncertainty, change, patients aren't coming in, patient satisfaction is down. But it's your resilience that gets you back on the surfboard, and it's your brilliance that allows you to catch the next wave. And that's when I begin to ring the bell and I said, that's it. You got to catch the next wave no matter what is happening in business and life.
Okay, so started at Disney. You've been featured alongside people like Brene Brown and Tony Robbins. We've had Brene at Symposium as well. You've been at Symposium, Seattle Study Club Symposium, I think 2 or 3 times now. We've featured you on Business Academy and a number of sessions. You've spoken to dozens of study clubs. But I'm going to tell a quick story that I think most people in the network don't know. So, March 2020, right? Everybody remembers what happened. The beginning of COVID, everything shuts down. And I kid you not, the day it shut down, the very first, I don't know if you remember this, the very first phone call I got was from you, was from Simon T. Bailey.
Wow, I don't even remember this.
Yep. And all you said was, Greg, I don't know what you guys are going to do with the clubs and with everybody, everything that's going on. But if I can do anything for you, just ask.
Wow.
And it was at the time, it was super powerful. And then you will recall this. We launched what we called Living Life Together, just an online webinar series for all Seattle Study Club members. And you were our first presenter, our first teacher, speaker. And you didn't charge us a dime for that because you really just wanted to give back to the community. I wanted to relay that story because the people that haven't met you, I want them to know you at, I'll use your word, at your soul. And that was, to me, that was just an amazing thing to do, an amazing offer to make. So thank you.
Wow, my pleasure. I didn't even think about it. It's been an interesting time that we've all have gone through. And like you, I believe relationships are the currency of the future.
Yes.
So you guys believed in me when I was a mere pup. I had just left Disney. Nobody knew my name. And now some 2,500 organizations in 55 countries. Seattle Study Club has believed in me. So you never forget your friends.
Yeah, amen to that. Amen to that. So you mentioned the word resiliency,
Yes.
right? Which during that time we all had a taste of in one way, shape, or form. But things feel crazy again. And I'm wondering, just from your perspective, what does it take to stay resilient? What should resilient, I guess, well-being look like, especially in the healthcare space with clinicians, with their team members? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so what we're hearing from the people that we serve and what's working for them is well-being is the new unlock. In other words, how do I begin to take care of my head, my heart, my hands? When we talk about your head, thinking about your mindset, meditation, exercise, dieting, sleeping, just getting your mind wrapped around, am I in a good place? Number one. Number two, for those of you who lead practices, doubling down on having your management team check in with everyone. How are you? Here's the research. According to Gallup, who has surveyed 190 countries looking at the workplaces, what they're saying, Greg, is 7 out of 10 people are dealing with stress, high anxiety, borderline depression. So in other words, everybody's dealing with something. So this ability to create a thriving workplace where you just check in and say, how are you doing? How's it going? What do you need? Because people kind of put the mask on when they come to work. And you
100%.
Chris Rock has an old line that sometimes you meet people, you don't meet them, you meet their representatives,
That's 100% accurate.
So in the workplace, we gotta like double click and say, how are you doing? Because you're patient facing, right? And I think the third thing, as it relates to hands, It's not about doing more work. It's about being a better human and saying, how do we be better for each other? And it's doubling down on it.
So let's unpack that a little bit. I
Mm.
hate that term, but let's let's unpack that a
Let's
little bit.
drop a pin. Let's drop a pin on
Oh God, and yeah, let's circle back as well. Like,
it.
so you said you started with mindset and your own mindset and checking in with yourself.
Yes.
What would you tell our audience? What would you tell our listeners if you check in with yourself and you're not doing okay?
Yes.
Like, I am depressed, I am down, I am frustrated, I am upset. What do I do?
First of all, go and get professional help. I advocate that you get a counselor, a therapist, someone who has been trained to help give you coping skills to deal with the mental blocks that you might have. Number one, see a professional counselor. Number two, if you have a spouse or a loved one, a family member, sit down and just say, hey, I need to just process something out loud. I just need a judge free zone. Just hear me out. And then ask them, what are you hearing as I talk? And if
Oh, I
they
like
love
that.
you, understand you, they'll say, hey, let me put the mirror to reflect back. You said this, this, and this. Did you mean this? And sometimes you don't need, Greg, somebody to fix you. You just need to process it. You just need to get it out of you. Don't suppress it. But I think the third thing, and this is something that one of my clients told me the other day, she began to write it out literally in a journal. Everything that she was holding on to, she wrote it out. And once she got it out, she could step back and say,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, here's what's really going on.
Yeah, that process of writing it out forces you to think a little more clearly and define a little more specifically what it is because you're literally putting it on paper,
Yes.
which I think, to your point, allows you to become not completely, but a little more objective about whatever that feeling, whatever that challenge happens to be. So the second thing you mentioned was then checking in with your team. How are you feeling? How are you doing? So I want to know, once I check in with my team, what should my response be? Because when I check in with my kids and they have an issue, the first thing I want to do is fix it. Oh, here's how you handle that. Here's how you should feel. Here's how you should behave. Is that the right response? What's the how do you play here?
I think with your team, you check in with them and you ask for them to say, what do you think we should do? So they may bring up, hey, here's a problem, here's the situation. Have them tap into their brilliance and say, get back to me, let me know how it goes if you need my help. I think the second thing is tell people what they're doing right instead of what they're doing wrong. People are tired of being beat up about, hey, this didn't work out, this happened, this person dropped the ball. Hey, what am I doing right? And then coupled with that is please and thank you. Simple
Yep.
things that mean a lot right now.
I love that that suggestion, enrolling them almost in, whether it's a solution or a coping mechanism or whatever, enrolling them in creating the solution. We'll just use that as a placeholder
Yeah.
term for that challenge, that issue, that feeling. Gives them also a sense of empowerment.
You're giving them agency. You're giving them agency. They're adults. Don't close the adult daycare center. Let adults do the work.
I'm doing it today. The adult daycare center is closed, out of business. So
Close.
love it.
You're smart.
All right.
Figure it out.
We're going to jump all over the place here because I read a piece you wrote on LinkedIn. For those of you that don't know, Simon is prolific on LinkedIn. Check him out. But you wrote a piece on the benching effect. Give me the 35,000 foot view and two big takeaways from that.
So I'm talking with a colleague, and she said, Simon, people are being benched right now. And I'm like, what does that mean? They're no longer invited to meetings. They feel that they no longer have value, and no one is no longer asking for their input. And what that does is a person is still showing up, getting a paycheck, but they're not emotionally engaged because the organization hasn't made them feel like they still have value. So I think there are two things that people can do right now. First of all, show up with a great attitude and with a mindset of how can I add value and find problems that need to be solved. That can
Okay,
go.
so let me ask you a quick question here. I just want to clarify.
Yes.
The people that are showing up with the great attitude, I'm assuming you're talking about those of us who have been benched.
Yes.
Okay, I just want.
Yes, those have been benched where you're no longer the center of attention or
Yeah.
invited to be at the table. So don't come in with a rotten attitude. Begin to say, how can I, instead of focusing on what can't I do, what's not happening. Don't go down that path. Go the opposite way to say, this is a great practice. This is a great place of business. How do I continue to show up and put my best foot forward?
Okay, so that was one. I interrupted you. The second point,
Yeah.
the second
The
takeaway
second,
there on the benching effect to deal with it.
the second way is develop yourself. So many people are worried about AI. I want you to practice AI, actual intelligence. Be the disruptor.
Not A1, AI, but actual intelligence, not
Actual.
artificial
Actual
intelligence.
intelligence. I got that from a friend of mine, Lennox Scott, who's the CEO of John L. Scott Realty there in Seattle. And he called me one day and he said, Simon, I'm telling my real estate agents to practice AI. And he pauses, actual intelligence. And I say, what's that? He said, never stop thinking. What can you do instead of what you can't do? Figure it out. So everyone listening to us who may feel that they've been benched, I want you to say, what can I learn? What can I read? What can I study? How do I apply this to work in life?
Well, and it's interesting that you bring it up in the context of AI, right? And so I know you're using it as actual intelligence, but AI is making inroads into dentistry, and I think it is a big stressor for clinicians wondering, is it going to put me out of a job? For team members, is it going to put me out of a job? What do I do there? Same advice? Do you have additional advice around dealing with artificial intelligence?
I want to invite everyone to go back in time, 1996. We're introduced to the internet. Everybody is freaking out. Oh my goodness, what is this thing called the internet? And the adoption rate was really slow. AI, the adoption rate has been lightning speed. But AI is just a tool. Even as Salesforce introduces the agents and agentic, we're moving into that robots, we're there. It's just a tool. How do dentists and their teams begin to say, how do we offer high valued work that our patients love and need that robots and AI can never touch? And I really believe, Greg, it's that one to one, it's that personalization, it's that emotional imprint, that emotional tattoo that you leave on every patient that you deal with.
Okay, so I think about this. I think about artificial intelligence. I think about the practice, and then I think about the study club, right? That's my job. So when I think about what the study clubs are focused on, helping the individuals who are participating grow across the board, right? It's not just about clinical dentistry. Where, especially today, where should our groups, where should our members be focusing educationally, from a growth, from a learning perspective, in the non-clinical space? What should we be thinking about?
How are you building community? and what that community is doing to create more connectivity. How are people learning? How are people growing? How are people mentally doing? Because AI is almost gutting out this am I still valuable? So that community, when people are in a
Yes.
community, a circle of resilience, it reinforces and empowers them. That's number one. Number two, in the clubs, providing things where people connect outside of the club because loneliness is the new epidemic. So, what would
Yes.
it be like if we do things, projects together to help people that have food insecurity? What if we volunteer? Pull the community together and offer a plethora of things that bring people together. It doesn't have to be a lot, but it can be common interests in that club's community. And then I think the third thing is when you get together, create a circle where you just start with one question, actually two questions. How are you? What do you need? And if those questions are asked in the circle when they get together, how am I doing? What do I need? That builds resilience in and of itself. So by the time they leave the club meeting in person or online, they're like, wait a minute, somebody actually asked about me and how am I doing? What do I need? You know what? I'm going to be okay in the midst of this transformation with AI.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to steal your word, but that's brilliant. In particular to me, the last 2 points. So one, again, when I think about study club, they're creating a safe environment for people to engage with each other. And that's been established from the get-go with these individuals.
Mhm.
So now I am in a space where if somebody asks that question, I'm actually going to share. I'm actually going to say, "Hey, I'm struggling," or you know what? I'm actually doing okay, whatever it happens to be, but here's what I need. And you've been involved not only in study clubs, but in groups for a long time. It's not always a safe space to answer that question.
Mm-mm.
So
Mm-mm.
I love that. The giving back to the community as a community, brilliant. And food insecurity is going to become more relevant, I think, as we move forward.
Mhm.
So just a quick story. We have a club in Michigan, right by the University of Michigan, and a club in Columbus, right by the University of Ohio. And leading up to the Michigan Ohio State football game every year, both clubs compete to see who can generate the most food for a food drive for their community. But it's a fun way for them to do this, and then the losing club has to wear the other team's jersey during the game.
Wow.
So they, there's a little skin in the game too,
Sure.
but they
Sure.
they have fun with it. So it doesn't always have to be super serious, right? You can
No.
have a good time while you're doing that.
People need joy, they need excitement, they want to use their voice in helping everyone thrive, not just survive.
Yep. So you also, let's talk about this a little bit. You have a new book out called Resilience at Work. So if you haven't gotten this, and I'm assuming most haven't yet because this is just out, go out and get it. It's a great read. But I want to ask you about something that really jumped out at me when I started reading this. So hang on, I got to open it up. I don't know. What do you use for a book holder? Are you a page folder or I?
I'm old school, I'm a page folder.
You're a page folder. So I have these Bob Ross playing cards that are in
Nice.
all of my books all over the
Nice.
place. But there is on, now I got to put my glasses on. So hang on page 55, there is a statement that says scientists concur that worrying slows down the brain. That hit me because I can be a worrier. I do that quite often. Talk to me about A, the mechanism behind that, and then B, what do I do about it? Because my brain's already slow enough when I'm at normal speed. So,
Well, Dr. Christian Mirsky at Princeton University's psychology department says when the brain slows down, the brain doesn't create neurogenesis, which is the process of growing neurons, which grows the brain. So, in other words, when I'm in worry mode, worry connects to thoughts, thoughts connect to beliefs, beliefs connect to behaviors, and behaviors become actions. So reverse engineer. How am I acting out based on how I'm behaving? It's because I believe and my thoughts are worried that something's going to happen. And in some other studies, they say a lot of times what you worry about never materializes unless you give energy to it. So you have to begin to say, okay, now there's healthy worry. And healthy worry is, we want to make sure the trains are running on time, everything. That's healthy, that's good worry, that's normal business. But then it's that other worry about the outcome and the what ifs. And what happens, Greg, is you start building a whole story in your head and it slows you down and it may or may not materialize. So here's the hack that I want everybody to think about.
That's what I'm looking for.
Acknowledge the worry and say, what's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that can happen? And then, how would I like for this to work out? And that's the unlock. How would I like for this to work out instead of dwelling in what can happen?
Okay, so I'm going to shift it just a little bit when I use the hack because I was raised Catholic. So what's the worst that could happen? I'm really good at that. I'll end up face down in a ditch, dying with a heart attack, and people
Catholic
walking over
guilt.
me.
Catholic guilt.
I'm really good at that stuff. So I might back that up just a little, but all right, to finish here, but I will tell you I was not worried about this discussion and this interview because I love you so much. So to finish, let's talk about the future a little bit. Healthcare providers, people in the healthcare profession, where should they be looking for as we think about the next 5, 10 years, even 2 years down the road? What are some of the things, maybe 2 or 3 priorities, things they should be focusing on?
I think number one, practice owners, teams have got to double down on the mental health of every team member. What the pandemic has done, it suppressed a lot of mental issues. And, you take a can of soda, you shake it up and you open it up. Well, it's been shaken up. World events, everything happening in the world. So doubling down on mental health, just to say, is everybody in a good place? Because your innovation is locked in the mindset of individuals. So they got to be doing good. Number two, you have to begin to consider that every patient that comes into your practice, they are dealing with things that you can't even imagine. They come in to have their teeth and their mouth worked on, but taking just an extra step to say, we appreciate you, thank you for your business, because that person becomes your unofficial marketing department outside your practice. So doubling down on the appreciation of your customers and hearing it from the dentist, not a postcard, not the front desk staff, the dentist, the doc.
Yep.
And I think the third thing is when you look at AI, how do we leverage it as a tool? And how do we remove from our teams those things that slow them down? And how do they move to high valued work? Whatever that looks like in your practice. So what's happening in the vet industry? What's happening in the eye clinics? What's happening there? I've been on both sides. And what they are doubling down on is how do we ensure that the work that doesn't make sense that a person is doing, move that work so that that person can focus on the patient and their family.
Great. So in summary, focus on for the future, focus on mental health, you, your team, and your patients.
Yep.
Second, simple acknowledgement. I mean, you used the words earlier, please and thank you, but be genuine with that.
Yes. Yes.
And then the third is instead of worrying, I know I keep coming back to that term, but instead of worrying about AI, how do I actually use this tool to free me up to do more high value work?
Yes. It's a tool.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I love it. Well, Simon, I want to thank you for joining us for this session. I got to tell you, this week I was super excited about this because this was, I don't know if you do this, but I do this. There's always something I'm looking forward to during the week. I give myself, whether it's just barbecuing outside or whatever it happens to be, spending a little time with you was my look forward to this week. So the rest of my week shot to hell, but
No, it was great being with you, my friend. Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, and cheers and thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.
All right, my friend. Take care.
All right.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.